I think a lot of people watch these videos and wonder why I'm so worried about nuclear waste traveling past our neighborhoods. I mean, after all, most of us have lived with the existence of nuclear waste all our lives. But in reality, it's only existed on this planet for about 70 years. The government tells us it knows how to handle it, but explosions like the one at WIPP that occurred after only 15 years of operation and shut it down for 3 years is evidence that no one knows where all the risks are. An accident with nuclear waste is not like other accidents. It's long-lived and catastrophic, and that's what I want to talk about right now. So if WIPP's expanded, the new waste will be different from the waste it's taken in until now. It will be concentrated plutonium, the triggers from decommissioned nuclear bombs. It's very radioactive and so long-lived that it remains radioactive for almost 500,000 years. During transport, it will be in various states, starting with these solid triggers, and then a powdered oxide, and finally a mixture. Moving it when it's a solid and a powder, which is more than half the transport, it's very vulnerable to terrorists who could use it to create bombs. Plutonium in the powdered form is the most concerning state from an accident point of view. Plutonium released in this state is easily carried by breezes and wind. It's invisible, odorless, and tasteless, and it would be inhaled by people without their awareness, even before emergency crews would have time to arrive. So imagine who we're talking about inhaling a sudden release. Children outside at school, bicyclists and walkers, people in houses with their windows open. Just by breathing, all these people could bring these tiny particles into their lungs, where they lodge in lung tissue and provide a continuous and ongoing source of radiation. This is how plutonium causes lung, liver, and bone cancers. A few millionths of a gram of inhaled plutonium causes cancer, with children the most at risk because they have the longest amount of time for a cancer to develop. But health isn't the only concern with small plutonium particles. A significant release is almost impossible to clean up. Sandia National Labs predicts that a 2 square kilometer area of contamination would need to be evacuated, the soil scraped and bagged, structures like houses would have to be torn down, and possessions might need to be left behind. So back to the risk of accidents. I believe most officials when they say they take transportation safety seriously. We're told accidents are extremely unlikely, and probably if the plan to transport these materials were over a shorter distance and time frame, we might just make it to the finish line without an accident. But Landl and WIPP have poor safety records with packaging and labeling waste specifically. I think common sense tells us that transporting this material over hundreds of thousands of miles for almost a century, an accident is probably almost inevitable. And these are the risks that the DOE is assuming we're willing to take, unless we tell them we're not. We can do something to help the governor say no to the WIPP expansion. You can protect your neighborhoods, and we'll talk more about that on the last video. Remember, Governor Lujan Grisham's number is 505-476-2200.